Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie and welcome to my channel called Fitter Philosophy. This is an experience-based Stoic philosophy channel in which I, having a few decades of life experience under my belt, share opinions, perspectives, anecdotes and importantly real stories of real people that I've encountered in the past. You see, for many years I worked as an undertaker in Glasgow, and during the course of that time I arranged and conducted thousands of funerals, and with every single one you met a different family with different circumstances and different situations. And whilst at least 80% of funerals arranged and families met were what you'd call civil, genuine and practical, there were families that I met that under very different circumstances. And I remember it wasn't me that arranged it, but I conducted the funeral of a chap named Walter, and it was the minister at the end of the service who'd had a few drinks beforehand. It happens. And actually gave a pretty good service at the crematorium, but he was the one that was telling me about the background of Walter's situation. See, Walter was an old-fashioned sort of guy. He grew up in considerable poverty in the East End of Glasgow. And as a direct result of that experience, when it came to raising a family and moving into his council house, he was very prudent and taught his son and daughter never to spend money you've not got, and to make do and mend with what you have so that you can save up and retire comfortably in your old age. A kind of simple practical philosophy which really worked for Walter, because he really made it happen. I mean, this man lived into his 80s, well into his 80s, coming from an environment and a circumstance in which not a lot of people make it past 50. It's epigenetics. And typical in families, the children first listened to him, then they laughed at him, and then they made a mockery of him and got themselves into debt. When Walter discovered that Mary, his wife, was spending her pension on the children to give gifts to the grandchildren, who were very spoiled, very materialistic children, something changed in him. He became quiet and a lot more observational. And the family, of course, took his silence for consent. And then he noticed his own grandchildren stealing items out the house, collectible stuff, not of any particular value, but of value enough that it could be sold on eBay. And still he said nothing. And then when Mary passed away and the family held their hand out for the money from their mother, he said, no, I'm looking after it. You'll get what's coming when I'm gone. Now, of course, his children presumed that they would be getting what was coming when he was gone. They didn't read enough into what he said. But he had a few close friends at his allotment which he attended, where he grew his own vegetables, grew his own fruit, and hung out for most of the day, leading a quiet, disciplined and reflective philosophical life. because he was eating what he was growing, and because he was cooking his meals, and because they were basic and nutritious, he enjoyed good health into old age. His children started to experience ill health. His son got lung cancer because he was smoking 20 to 25 cigarettes a day, and that's what happens. His daughter became morbidly obese because she was comfort eating because of insecurities. And so this pattern carried on for well over a decade until he passed away. And when he did, he'd already arranged his own funeral, his own reception at the local bowling club where a lot of the allotment members were based. And the son and daughter soon discovered, once they tracked down who his lawyer was, that they were getting nothing, and the grandchildren were getting nothing, and they were very, very, very upset. Because after all, he was their father, and therefore it was his duty to give them everything. This is the way they were thinking. This is their lives they were living. And he'd not done that because he'd given them what was coming. And what came was a complete, and he was a quiet man, he's not one for confrontational, but it was the biggest kickback that he could possibly deliver. The money was donated to the bowling green and to expanding the allotment to create new allotments for a local primary school, so that children could learn where food comes from. You see, schools don't teach that. They never teach it. When the son discovered that the bowling club had got the money, he arranged with local gangsters. He paid them money to go and burn it down. They, of course, afterwards, high in heroin, confessed to it to other folk in the community. But the kick-off was that with the donation Walter had made to the bowling club, they were in a position to insure the clubhouse for the first time in something like 30 years, which they did. So when it was burnt down, they were fully insured. It was rebuilt, like for like, to a completely modern standard. They got steps removed and a ramp put in for handicapped people. They registered themselves as a charity, a community charity. They hired out the hall for community events and parties. These retirees in the bowling club turned their hobby into a small business to help support the local community. And the son was furious about it. 2 years later, he died from lung cancer. The year after that, his sister died. The year after that, one of the sons, the grandchildren, who had gone to Thailand, was found floating face down in the sea because he'd got in with the wrong crowd, because he'd learned from his mother that it's all about the money. Follow the money. And therefore he got what was coming to him. And the conclusion of my story is simple, gainers. Be careful what you wish for. We should all be careful what we wish for. Keep things grounded, keep things practical, and never be ashamed to be old-fashioned and to be perceived of having common sense. And never hang around with people who are obsessed with money. They're dangerous people. And not only are they self-destructive, they're very quick to destroy those around them. And the more money they have, the worse it gets.